Hey guys, it's Verns, back here again with another Supercoach video. This time it is the Round 7 review. Now before we jump into it, I do want to just apologize in advance and a little bit late for last week, but I was sick in last week's video. You could probably hear that, and you can probably hear it now that after a week I am still somehow sick. Good news is there was only 5 games this week, so hopefully I'll make this video a bit shorter and I can get off my voice as soon as possible. But going over the round, we did drop a 233, so that was 212 for the round rank and up 19 positions for the overall rank to 58. So that was a pretty nice bounce back considering the 3 weeks prior to this week we've lost a lot of ground from 13th down to 77th. So it was nice to get a few more positions back this week. But jumping to the team, we'll see how it went. Pretty good overall. I'll talk through my trades here because if you haven't watched the video since last week, this might catch you a little off guard. If you do follow in my X, which there should be a link in the description, I always leave it there. I do post my trades there at the end of the week, and I usually do an update if anything adjusts. But I didn't do an update for the post that I put up because originally we had Warrenberg out and Klintman was in. But with the news that Klintman wasn't playing, then it makes no sense to just not switch the two. Considering I had the money available to do so. So I ended up moving Klintman on. Now the reason for that is I was actually more or less chasing cash this week. I wanted to make some cash. I've been feeling like I was falling behind the value game a little bit. Warrenberg had a terrible break even. I wanted to get someone in that had a good break even originally. I was looking at the next star from New Zealand, but I mean, he has a -8, and I had enough money to go all the way to Lamb, who has a -1, and I felt way more confident in Lamb's ability to score and probably earn, first of all, more cash, but also be someone that I could play on field for more points. So ended up paying up for Lamb, which worked out extremely well as he was, the third highest scorer of the week. So that went quite nicely. And as I said, ended up keeping Warrenberg, moving Klintman out, Henshaw, and obviously getting Armstrong in, as everybody should have been on Armstrong because just too much value at his price. But yeah, looking forward just quickly at the team, we're going to look at some break-evens. Bannon still has a -8 break-even. It's probably a bit too late to get on him now for most people. Saying that, Bullets do have a double next week, so I mean, if you did get on him, you could still make a little bit of cash at the end of the day. But look, if you've already, I guess, rode the boat for this long, it's too late to get off. Like you just accept that you've missed Bannon. It's gone. And Armstrong still has a good break even. I would definitely recommend getting on him if you didn't for some reason last week. I mean, I can understand why you didn't last week, but at the same time, I do think that was the most simplest trade in all of Supercoach that we've had this season. But yeah, team went, as you see, pretty well over there. We ended up keeping Sobey and not trading to Cotton, which, look, wouldn't have been pretty nice going to Cotton, but Sobey ended up putting together a pretty good score. And the way that I looked at this is I was moving on Sobey, but I was like, actually, as much as Cotton has 3 games in the next, 2 weeks, technically over the next 3 weeks, Cotton has 4 games and Sobey has 4 games over 3 weeks because they have the single this week, but then Brisbane are back on the double after that. So I was like, I can really just bench Sobey for a week and then worry about bringing him back on. Yes, his break-even's bad, but over running him 3 weeks into a double, I'm sure he can get that back together. And as I said, I just wanted to bank more of a value play for money this week rather than continuously yo-yoing these premiums because I just didn't feel like that was getting the ground that I needed to. But yeah, we can see a lot of good scores here. I'm going to jump to the game day and we'll go through the games here. Now, I did watch the Sydney-Brisbane game earlier this morning, as to why most people probably wouldn't have seen me on, as I mentioned, I'm usually on the Fantasy Take TV, Discord, talking there in the NBL chat. I also just reply to everyone on X that usually talks to me there, so talk to people through there. As I said, it's not that I'm ghosting you over the last 24 hours. I was just behind in the games, and I couldn't really reply until I caught up this morning because I didn't want spoilers or whatnot. But I'll quickly talk about this game just because, as I said, it's fresh in my mind. First of all, Brisbane never should have lost this game. They really threw the game out the window themselves. They had this 95 to, I think it was 89 lead, and they let Sydney get 15 points unanswered. That's crazy. And there was one moment at the end of the third that just sometimes Sobe does the dumbest shit. Like, it doesn't matter Supercoach score-wise that he did what he did, but it matters to the team. Just because what he did at the end of the third is they had the 24 seconds on the shot clock. Technically, there was like 24.7 on the real clock, so they were slightly out of sync. But if you're taking a shot with a second or two left on the clock, that leaves no time for them to really transition it. But for some reason, Sobe pulls up and shoots with like 8 seconds left on the clock, allows Sydney to transition the ball, and then Adams gets fouled right before the siren and puts 2 free throws in. And it's one of those things where it's like, Sobe, man, what are you doing? Like, even if the shot clock ran up at the end of the day, you give them no opportunity to score, even if you throw up a bad shot at that stage. But taking a bad shot with 8 seconds on the clock, it just means that Sydney now get this opportunity they never should have had. And instead of in a worst case scenario, you guys just going into the half the way it was, you went into this half 2 points less ahead than what you were. It just, I don't know, just frustrating to see Sobe do stuff like that. As I said, it's not Supercoach relevant. I don't even go for Brisbane, but it's just stupid. Like, I just don't like seeing stupid things like that on the court. It's like, bro, what are you doing? Like, that, why would you ever shoot that? That makes no sense. But yeah, Sobe definitely had a bounce back game for us here. Biggest thing with Sobe to have his bounce back game at the end of the day was the foul trouble. In his last 2 games, he got 2 fouls in the first quarter very quickly, then went off and came back partway through the second. And he just missed out on a lot of time on the court because of that, and it just really affected his game. Where this week he didn't run into trouble. He actually got to play a proper game, and because of that, he puts in a reasonable score. And with Selby, he's really yo-yo on these scores. Like, quarter 1, he probably put down like 13 Supercoach points, and like quarter 3, he probably put down like another 12. Like, most of his score came from those 2 quarters. A few points at the end of the game before, Bullets didn't score for ages as well, which helped. But yeah, really quiet second, pretty quiet fourth overall. So, I mean, as I said, you take an entire quarter out of his game because of the foul trouble. All of a sudden, this very sporadic scoring took a very big hit. So it was nice to see him have some good moments early on where I thought he was on track for a really big one. As I said, had some quiet periods, but managed to get to a really, really respectable score. And only 9 points less than Cotton, so not even a big deal, putting him in over Cotton. Something that also worked in Sobe's favor, I did bring up these stats on the side here, as I do want to see them as I'm talking. Okay, so he's only credited 2 steals. I thought in this game, first quarter, he gets a beautiful steal, gets a free basket off it. Easy 5 points there. But later on in the game, it happened twice where players got hands to the ball to knock it out of the Sydney players' hands, and Sobe picked it up, and I thought he got 2 steal. They credited him for 2 steals. Looks like they've only credited him for 1 of those steals. I think Norton put a hand in and tipped it out to him, and he got the run. But yeah, I thought he got 2 off that, and that's the sort of cheeky points there where it's like, man, your player didn't really do much. He was just in the right place, and he just happened to pick up the ball. Like, but no, he only got 2 steals credited to him there. Bannon came out with a pretty good game here. We're pretty respectable with a 23. DJ Mitchell actually had a good game here. He kept taking the ball down low and just doing these nice little fadeaways from the pocket. Was very good from him. Norton doing Norton things. McDaniel doing McDaniel things. Has a great mid-range J, but is mainly the defensive player. Baines ran into foul trouble, got fouled off at the end off the dumbest foul. Like, sometimes you just don't know what goes through these people's heads. Like, is Baines just like unnecessarily mad at this point? Because he sets a screen, Adam goes to run through it, and it's like, okay, Adams he's made contact with you, you've got that separation, you've gotten Chris Smith open. But then, like, Baines, like, unnecessarily, like, hooks his arm and just, like, holds him and then gets a 5th foul for no reason. And it's like, why would you do that, bro? Like, once again, it's in the heat of the moment, but it's like, you were in foul trouble. At that point, you take the contact, and I feel like you just be a lot more passive. You just accept that if it's light contact, it's light contact. You don't overcommit to force the screen because you're on 4 fouls, and this could be game-losing if you go off. But no, he just gets a really unnecessary foul. It's one of those things where I think it was also in the Tasmanian game. I forgot who they were talking about, but he gets in the foul trouble. He's on his 4th foul, and he just didn't know how to take his foot off the gas. Like, he's always in their face 24/7, and there's no stepping back. Oh, it was Qual actually in the Taipans game. They talked about it where they were just like, he got the 4 fouls, and they're just like, okay, this is where you need to take a step back, be a little bit more passive, But we know Cole can't play like that, and he didn't play like that. He was still up in their face, super physical. One of these turnover attempts he got where it was like, bro, like that, I don't know how you didn't get a foul there. And I think Baines falls in that category too. Like, he doesn't know how to not play physical. And he would have done that irregardless of the situation. Yes, he shouldn't have considering the situation, but yeah. Sorry, not really Supercoach relevant, but just really stupid from Brisbane, and they really just threw this game away. Hogg had a great game again. Honestly, he's been really consistent and will look really good on the doubles for Sydney. Same with Adams. Those two are just way too consistent every game, and they're going to be really nice staples when Sydney has a good run of games. Unfortunately, I don't think Sydney get a good run of games for quite some time. They do get a double in like 2 more weeks, and they're the only team on the double with the Taiban's players. But I don't really know if we might be doing 1 week rentals at that stage if that's the case, but we're not going to go out of our way to prep for just a one-off double. Hunter had some good moments. Valentine did his thing. Tui hit some good threes, played really well too. Him and him and Bannon, there we go. Him and Bannon had some really good post matchups where they just kept taking each other to the ring and getting physical with each other, and it was pretty fun to watch in that sense. But yeah, pretty good game overall. As I said, I can't believe Brisbane threw it away. Good for Supercoach at the end of the day, so look, whatever. Our players did what they needed to do. So jumping to the start of the week, this is where Cotton just goes absolutely ballistic, and it's nuts. First of all, I get why New Zealand are playing the zone the way they are. They don't really have a tall enough team to be a man-to-man, because whenever they've been going man-to-man against teams just rotate them onto a smaller player. A lot of the time they try and get Parker Jackson Cartwright on the one-on-one in the post, and they just take him to the rack that way. So the zone sort of eliminates the weakness of the small team getting taken to the rack. But Matt Yang, huge staple for New Zealand, definitely someone I'm going to be targeting this week. He's had 3 good games in a row. He looks like he's found a good position in this team because of the lack of center. He's their starting center, and he does actually pretty good things. So definitely someone I would recommend getting on. I think he's got a decent break even, as well as he's got 2 doubles in a row. He's got the double this week, double next week. He's someone I did want to bring in this week on the single, but didn't have the cash, and with the way things fell, it just didn't happen. But 20 break even, yeah, he's playing well enough that he can do that in 1 game, so he should be a target for a lot of people, looking really good. But as I say, Cotton went ballistic in this game, hit a bunch of threes, looked really good. Anyone that was on Cotton, a lot of people had the captaincy on him and just got really rewarded. Pinder put down the 31, a little bit unfortunate because he started like a house on fire, and I thought he was going to be going really, really big, and he just got quiet towards the end of the game, and I feel like he got 2 Supercoach points at the end of this game. He got blocked by Matt Yang. He got blocked by Abercrombie in the 4th quarter. He just kept trying to take it to the ring, and he just was losing these one-on-ones, and it was I don't know, a little bit embarrassing that he was just getting blocked so hard on these one-on-ones. But yeah, he was 29, I swear, at 3/4 time. I don't know the exact stats that he was, but I feel like he has 29 Supercoach points. I feel like he got 2 points in this final quarter, and that was the only thing he did. I mean, look, he maybe got a rebound or something, but yeah, he was definitely on track for a good 40, and then unfortunately a 4th quarter that just got taken over by Bryce, and Pinder didn't do much. It was a bit disappointing. It was good to see that Pinder played big minutes even when they were up by 20. He just stayed on the floor at the end, but yeah, as I said, a little disappointing. He couldn't get a better Supercoach score out of it. Obviously our captain, and we're not unhappy with the 31. That's still a pretty good score. A lot of people are on PJC who dropped the 28, but yeah, it is what it is. Doolittle comes out with a massive game here. He matches Pinder, and overall it just means that not going the Doolittle route 2 weeks ago was super punishing. He's also made 70k over these 2 weeks, where Pinder went down again. Yeah, went down again. So he's lost 20k. So it's a 90k turnaround if I went Doolittle over Pinder. Let alone, as I said, it would have given me enough money to keep Saar, who outscored Aldridge by 44 points over these 2 rounds, technically 22 points because they'd be bench players, but yeah, a little disappointing there. But yeah, good win from Perth here. They really crushed, and they kept the foot on the gas the whole game. They just kept pumping out the the top end players. They kept Cotton on all game. They kept Pinder on all game. Doolittle, they didn't bother with the 3rd or 2nd string really towards the end, when they probably could have, considering they were smoking them by so much. But Lamb, huge light for New Zealand again. 2 weeks in a row where they're struggling and they need someone to keep them in it. And that's Lamb. He's hitting threes. I think he hit 6 out of 10 at one point. He missed like maybe 2 threes at the end when they were trying to force them. But he was like 6 out of 10, like at the end of towards the end of this game. Like, he was shooting very well from the 3-point line, scoring well inside, getting rebounds. He got a block at one stage. Honestly, it might have been a block on Pinder because that's just what was happening. He has been a superstar. He's made so much money. He's got a great break even. He's going to make so much more money. And yeah, it's been really good having Lamb. As I've always talked about, Madden Yang really found his position in this team, which is great. Parker Jackson Cartwright just not quite doing what he was doing in the first few weeks. He's not getting the steals he was getting, unfortunately. And he is missing a few more of his layups, which is unfortunate. I think teams just have him a little bit more red now. In the first few weeks, they were caught off guard by his speed and ability to get to the ring, but now they're a little bit more adept to it, and people are rotating and making it very contested at the ring. I think without Cheatham there for him to be able to do nice little assists, or when he does do his kickouts, they're just not hitting the threes to really reward him for that devastating drive that he has. But yeah, look, 28, we're not unhappy with his scoring. At the end of the day, he's doing what he's doing, but I don't think we're going to be seeing the same numbers that we did at the start of the season, at least not often. It may come out here and there, but yeah, definitely not as often as we did early on. McDowell White, decent game, fair enough. We take that. I mean, yeah, he's a second string point guard at this point, and he is not scoring well, so he's having to rely on assists, and his team isn't shooting well either, so it's making life very hard. Anyone that went on the Delaney train has been absolutely destroyed for it, because he has been bad 2 rounds in a row, which is unfortunate. But yeah, just quick recap hopefully there. Jumping to the next game, we have Taipans versus Illawarra. Taipans end up getting up. Qual top scores for them, so that's awesome for us. And the thing was, Qual was gifted like 6 points at the end of this game, which we're all for. Qual played a good game, good defensive. He got a lot of steals, and once again, same principle as last week in my opinion. Taipans give up the most easiest points, they get into positions where they have free buckets and they miss them the most out of anyone when they have free buckets, which is very annoying, unfortunately. Warrenberg, not a great game. McCall was actually crazy. He got like 5 steals. He just kept picking people's pockets, but the point he got like 5 steals and 23 Supercoach, man, that's crazy. He had, I think, 6 turnovers in this game. I'm going to actually quickly look at the stats here because I have stats over here. McCall steals. Okay, so he got 3 steals, but then he got 6 turnovers, so crazy. I mean, whenever he got a steal, a lot of the time he ran down and scored 2 points off it, so it was basically worth almost double at that point. But yeah, to get only 23 in that situation, it's just crazy how much he turns the ball over to. Like, this guy, just nuts. But yeah, as I said, Qual got some free points at the end. He played a good game overall. He made a good move towards the end of the game when it was close, and he scored a nice 2-point, just mid-range J from the elbow to put them up by 6 at that stage, and then Illawarra just fouling deliberately to obviously send them to the line, and Qual went to the line twice and gets an extra 4 points on top of it, which is awesome. We really like that. Armstrong, as I said, was pretty good overall. A lot of assists. Hit a 3 that was nice. He had some good shots. You can see why he's good. He's very strong and well developed for his young age. But really good. And then Warrenberg, unfortunately, he hits the first 3 of the game off a pass from Qual, and I'm feeling like this is going to be really good for my players. But yeah, a little bit lackluster from him. The only good thing I can see here is a lot of people had brought him in because he was so good in sort of his first double game. So for him to be a bit more lackluster now, it's punishing like 56% of like the top 5%. So it's not the end of the world that he's getting these not great scores. And as I mentioned, when he's playing double games, if he's putting together a 40 for the week, it's going to outscore most premiums on the single. So we accept that. Anyone that got Latmayan, he got another good jump in price. Menenga 9, so good break even, still making cash. Froling was really good in this game, put down a lot of good points, got an easy double-double. He's going to look very good when Illawarra hit their run. Clark was average. Robertson, average. Harvey, average. I mean, if anything, you're overpaying for Robertson. It's very unfortunate. But yeah, not really too many noticeable players here. What is unfortunate is Peatling is back, which means that Aldridge's minutes were completely gone. Like, he played very minimal minutes. Here we go, 4 minutes he played. Like, he is not getting on the court anymore with Peatling being back, meaning he has to be out of our team now, as he is only going to bleed cash from here forward. So yeah, he has to be a trade for everyone. And something I did want to bring up actually last week that I forgot to mention, but PJC and Creek kind of torched me on the free throw end of things. Just so we're aware, last week Creek was 7 from 14 and PJC was, I think, maybe like 6 from 12. I just lost a lot of points off free throws, which was really sad. So I thought about that when I was talking about Qualls free throws, because once again, these are free buckets. The teams are just missing, and it's very annoying. Adelaide Jack Jumpers. Honestly, Jack Jumpers started off smoking them, I'm pretty sure. Is that what happened this game? Maybe that was the Illawarra game. I forget. Jack Jumpers started off smoking them. Then Adelaide had a really good run to bring it back, and then Jack Jumpers got out by 10, and then it sort of just stayed at that 10-point margin for the entire game. But yeah, good game out of them. Doyle absolutely cooked, so super good for anyone that got on him. Crawford, also a really good game from him. Obviously, these Jack Jumper players are on the double right now, so you want to be looking at these guys. Lee had a good game. McVeigh a little bit underwhelming. Magnay was back, and Bairstow also played. So how that affects Lee is a question there, because he was someone I was maybe thinking of, because we need to get Aldridge out of our team. But yeah, I guess the only real noticeable ones are the top 4 there. I think the rest of these guys aren't Supercoach relevant, but McVeigh, Lee, Crawford, and Doyle. Obviously, Doyle and Crawford people are going to want to get on. A lot of people still hold McVeigh. He probably doesn't have a good break even after this game, so probably not someone people are going to jump on. Yeah, 61. Lee is at a pretty affordable price now at 212. Pretty good break even too, so you can probably make a little bit of money if you get on a Lee, which is why I was eyeing him off, and he can probably put down some good score this round on the double as well. Assuming Magnay doesn't affect him too much, but yeah, I think the thing that holds Lee back is usually his foul trouble, so it's hard to say there. And then we really don't care about any of the Adelaide players. Cool, Flowers did some things. That was all right. Wiley had an awful game. Wow, what happened to Wiley? I remember him getting the dunk early as well, which was really sick. I'll be honest, I didn't have any players in this game, as you can see, so I had this on in the background as I was like doing other things, so I didn't notice that Wiley only got 2. Did he get injured or something? Let's look at the stats here. Wiley court time, 15 minutes. Okay, I'm assuming he must have got injured or something, because there's no way he's only playing 15 minutes by choice. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and we'll jump down to finally, I guess, the Derby or whatever we call this. So the 2 Melbourne teams playing. Wow, I didn't know Mullet game was such a big score. This was pretty important for a lot of people, because a lot of people had Williams and they had the captaincy on him. In my case, I had Creek. Creek a little bit lackluster, which was unfortunate for us. Brown, yeah, you'd be pretty happy with that if you're a Brown owner, and nobody owned Cummings anymore because he missed last week, so he got traded by everyone. We had Johnson joining because of Gak being injured. He is a very cheap price, but I don't think he's going to matter because he's going to be running behind Williams and probably playing very minimal minutes. If we take a look, yeah, he only played 10 minutes. Like, as much as he's getting eased back in to the system, probably, I wouldn't expect him to push Williams out much, honestly. Maybe affect Moller and Vague. Yeah, Vague. They're probably going to be affected more. That probably explains why Vague's on 0. He probably didn't play much at all. Yeah, 4 minutes. So he probably gets affected most by Johnson. And Moller was really good this game, so you can't really bench someone that's playing well, but he probably also gets affected by Johnson. Williams, yeah, good game, gets fouled out again, so that at least put a bit of a cap on his scoring. But yeah, he also really outperformed Pinder over these last 2 weeks, so really unfortunate there for us. Creek started off like a house on fire, and honestly, game 24 is a bit lackluster because he probably had like 12, 13 Supercoach points to start. But yeah, look, I'm just going to wrap it up there in regards to the team review, because this is already taking way too long, and I'm really feeling it on my voice. And I talked about not rambling for too much, and I can never help myself. It's just what I do, guys. We live with it. But trades coming into this week, as you guys can probably tell looking at the way my team is set up, I will be holding the Brisbane boys through this single, so Qual will jump on the field for this double that he has. We're going to be moving on Aldridge. As I said, if anyone has him, still you have to move on him this week, because he's just going to be bleeding points from here onwards. And then Creek is the other one, as I think South Melbourne now have 2, maybe 3 rounds of doubles from here, so nothing we really want to worry about. And I'm sorry I'm playing with my eye here. I can feel something in it. I just really want to get it out, and I'm going to give up on that before I pull my eyeball out. Actually, I got it. That's all good. So players I'm looking at, as I mentioned, Matty Yang is one of them that I definitely want, so he will jump on in. And then this leaves me with a fair bit of money to play with. So at this stage, I can be looking at... the way I'm looking at my team right now is, who am I going to trade next week? Everyone is on the double next week except for Pinder. So Pinder is a trade next week, meaning anyone I bring in now is basically a free 1-week rental, and then I can just trade them out again next week. So who's on the double, who's probably going to make cash? That's what I want to be looking at for my trade-ins this week. So I'm going to look at Cairns, New Zealand, Perth, and Tasmania. And who stands out for me here? So into the centre line, Marcus Lee is the one that stands out to me here. That's where I would go, because points is going to be very nice for us. And he's still probably going to make money because he's got a 33 break even. He'll probably meet that, probably make us a little bit of money and have good bench scoring. So I like that idea. But Magne was probably eased back in, so he might affect him a little bit more in the coming weeks. The other thing we can look at is we can flip him down, and then we can flip down Matt Yang and look at forward opportunities as well. Now we're going to look at players we can a forward. And as we can see, nobody really jumps out at us here. Obviously, you can bring Clintman back in if he is playing. Clintman has a pretty good break-even too, 33 as well, so the same as Lee. So definitely someone we could be looking at because we can hold him a bit more long-term. Doolittle, as I mentioned, he's already made 70k. I think he's got a 31 break-even. Look, the other thing I'm taking into effect here is we don't know how Clintman's going to be affected by everything. If he ends up coming back this week as well as Miller, how does the rotation end up working, and how is he affected by that? Because if it is a negative effect on him, which more or less you'd assume it is because you assume he loses some court time, even if it's not a lot, losing some court time, you'd assume just has some sort of regression. So you assume he's somewhat negatively focused here. Maybe we can bring him in the later weeks, but I'm thinking maybe not this week, just to give it a week to see how he sort of goes with the full squad hopefully being back. Lee, as I mentioned, he may be affected by Magne because he's getting eased back in. I mean, I like Lee as an option, but the only one that's really not going to be affected, so we know what he's going to be doing, is Doolittle. He's going to 100% be doing what he's been doing the last few weeks, and he's finally hit some really good form here. Saying that, as we know, New Zealand were pretty easy a matchup for him. Who is he playing on this double? He comes into Cairns and Bullets, and Cairns have been pretty good at giving up points to big men as well. Bullets might be a bit harder. They're a bit more restrictive, but yeah, I think Doolittle is more or less the play. I know we are weeks late on it, but as I said, just for a cheeky 1-week rental, he's probably the player out of the 3 options I'm looking at that's less likely to have a bit of a fluctuation in their scoring from, other factors that could affect him. So I think that's what I'm going to go with there. So yeah, that's how the team's going to look going in. How I'm going to actually set this up and who I'm going to captain here. I actually really want to captain Lamb, as crazy as that sounds, but it's probably not the play to captain Lamb. I mean, New Zealand, not bad matchups. Tasmania is great matchups, in my opinion. I think Tasmania into New Zealand and Cairns. Oh, man. Actually, I didn't even take that into account. So, New Zealand lacking in tools, and Cairns always give up big points to centers. Maybe we just go Lee. Yeah, let's just go for Lee now. Look, at the end of the day, I'll update it on my Twitter so you guys will know what's happening. Go ahead and click on it below in the link, and you guys can follow along for later on in the week to see if I've stuck with this or not. I'm going to say I probably am going to stick with it. Where we got you? There we are, Marcus Lee. Yeah, he has good matchups this week for the 1-week rental, so I think I'll take that. Sorry, internet's lagging a little bit here. Yeah, that's not bad. So Lee on the side. Who do we want as captain? Cartwright into Illawarra wouldn't be terrible. As I mentioned, Pinder probably going to do well into Cairns. They already played Brisbane once this year. How did he go into Brisbane earlier this year? 32, not bad. yeah, look, as I said, I'll put out my captaincy at the end of the week as well, but I think obviously, if you've got Bryce, he's a great option. Saying that, McDaniels probably goes to him, but even though McDaniels went to him last time, he still dropped to 32, so I think Bryce is a great captain options for most people. You're not looking at Williams this week. PJC is also on the double. I think the best option is honestly the Tasmanian boys into these lineups. New Zealand and Cairns aren't the strongest team. I think Doyle or Crawford could both be really good, so I'd be looking there if you have them. Anyway, my throat's literally at its limit right now, so thank you so much for tuning in, guys. If you enjoy the video and you want to keep following along, feel free to like and subscribe, but I just appreciate you all for being here. As I said, jump into the Fantasy Take Discord if you guys want to talk to me from there, or you can just at me on X, because I always try and get to any messages that are sent to me. So till next time, guys, I appreciate it. Peace. Later.